Thank you very much. I think that sums up the reason why we're here, to not give up. So thank you very much to the three panelists for their wonderful presentations. And now I'll open the floor to questions. I think if we take about 15-20 minutes for the discussion, and we'll see how we're going after 15-20 minutes. If there's more pending questions, we can either break for lunch and do them after, or we'll see. Because I think Francesco also wants to do something, a statement, a solidarity statement, which he wanted to do separately. But we'll go to the questions now and then see how we go with time.
It's a question to Maria, Carmen and David. It's just to understand a little bit better how facing this situation you described, which is terrible, how the world of justice, lawyers, jurists, activists, and how do you organize between all those worlds for the work for anti-repression and documenting the case? How has it been? What's the story of this organization in your country? What's the perspectives? It's also the topic of the meeting there. And also an international perspective. How would you see such an international perspective on that anti-repression organizing?
Io che volevo chiedere a David se gentilmente poteva spiegare anche l'involucramento delle forze paramilitari liberisti nelle varie attività. Io chiedo sapere l'involucramento entre las fuerzas paramilitares en el gobierno con la policía, cómo trabajan juntos. ¿Se tiene esta bien?
Just a little question following up on your presentations. Thank you so much. One, when you somehow in your presentation put into question the use of extractivism, right? And this is something that we're discussing. So, same thing with pacification, I see we are trying to look for finding some common tropes or concepts. So, extractivism seems to give us a common framework for us to think of our challenges, conflicts, and struggles and for perspective. So, if it's not extractivism, which are talking about? And now, the environment is coming, and David, you raised the issue of pacification, and I see your point of view. Pacification seems to provide the same, right? That extractivism gives us, it offers us this framework. So, how do you feel about that? And if it's not pacification, then what? From your perspective, from the ground, right? So that's my question.
Okay, so I'll start. I think that's the real point of being here, and what should occupy our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. How to generate enough organization, how to organize social force, social strength in order to oppose this system. That's what we are trying to do in my country. I mean, Correpi is not just a bunch of good people that help political prisoners or feel sorry for terrible things that happen to poor people in the neighborhoods when the police arrive. We are an organization with more than 3 decades of activism, and with a particular character. We include in our organization the families of the victims of the police repression or the survivors. You saw in the video the images of the demonstrations on the 14th and the 18th of December, when Macri succeeded to pass the bill that shrunk retirement pensions in order to satisfy the IMF requirements. Some of the boys and girls, because they were very young, that were demonstrating that day and that were caught by the police and who had to face criminal cases, decided to take part in the organization and to add up to our file, to our group, in order to confront repression not only when it comes to yourself. We think that since repression is a problem that must face any organization, any group of people that is confronting at any level, struggling for a right to be recognized or protesting because something terrible happened, we have to be in permanent, not only touch, but real articulation with other organizations. That's why there is a sort of a federation of organizations aimed to the repressive problem in Argentina, which is called Encuentro, Memoria, Verdad, Justicia, Encounter, Memory, Truth and Justice. From there we organize, for example, the marches on March the 24th. And there we merge political parties, social organizations, trade unions that don't defend the bureaucratic workers' organizations, women's and diversity movements. The women's and diversity movements in Argentina is particularly strong in the last days. And from there we try to cover all the bases and be present in each and every one of the different situations, while some of us also try to generate a political alternative for the working class, which is not, of course, the role of an anti-repressive organization. And what Guillermina pointed out, honestly, as soon as I get home, I'm going to study seriously this affair about pacification, because I'm not quite understanding it thoroughly. But you used a very significant phrase. You said the perspective from the ground, because in fact I wanted to make that clear. I'm not an academic person. I have my work, but what I came to talk here about is what I do in my political and militant intervention with my organization, and that perspective is evidently from the ground. We were there, suffering the gases, but I think Juan has a point when he says, well, from our view and the real state of things in Latin America, and I speak for Argentina, but I know the situation is not different and it's even worse in other countries of the region. The truth is that things should be called by their name. And when you stop saying imperialism and you say multilateral relations, as it was fashionable a few years ago, and when you stop talking about revolution and you say social change, and when you stop saying repression and you say something else, whatever, it sounds like a bit of cleaning up the face so it's not so much stained with blood. So I'll stick to repression for the time being. I promise I'll study it.
Igual, gracias por las preguntas. Exacto, a veces dicen, ¿no? Ocurren cosas tan delicadas, tan graves, y entonces, ¿cómo ustedes están en esto, no? Es una pregunta importante, porque claro, hay un instinto natural de supervivencia y de protección, ¿no? Y claro que lo tenemos, ¿no? Pero la base de nuestra actuación es una base político-ideológica. Ojo, distinto a una base de actuación político-partidaria, que es distinto. No estoy diciendo que lo partidario sea malo. Lo que estoy diciendo es que hay una opción personal, ¿no es cierto?, de defensa de los derechos de otros que no tienen la posibilidad de hacerlo, y de hacer de personas como yo, con cierta formación profesional, ¿no?, de poner su profesión como un instrumento de servicio a estas personas que están viendo vulnerados sus derechos.
So thank you very much. It's a very important question, and exactly like you said, that what's occurring is a very delicate situation. It's very grave, and so the question is more about how we survive or how we take on this situation. And I think it's really based on a political ideology. I think it's important to state that it's not participatory, but more an ideology, and it's about defending the rights of others in my case. So people like me, for example, who have a particular professional training, that we can put ourselves at the service of people who need to make use of our professional capacities to defend their rights.
Y entonces esto no nos hace grandes personas o héroes en el tema, ¿no?, sino es un poco de sensibilidad social que nos permite comprender que hay situaciones de injusticia y que nosotros, como otros, sin duda alguna, debemos trabajar por cambiar, ¿no?
So this doesn't make us great people or heroes or anything like that. It's just we see an injustice, a social injustice, and we have to act.
Bueno, en Perú hay muchas organizaciones de defensa de los derechos humanos, de los derechos ambientales, de los derechos indígenas, muchos profesionales al servicio, ¿no?, antropólogos, sociólogos, economistas, abogados, como es mi caso, que trabajamos el tema, y nos organizamos a través de asociaciones civiles que a través de un objetivo estratégico trabajamos en estos temas, ¿no? Y es una forma de organización absolutamente legal, transparente, y que nos permite la posibilidad de brindar ese apoyo, sin duda alguna también con la solidaridad internacional de organizaciones de países como el de ustedes, que nos permiten realizar ese trabajo.
So in Peru, you have lots of people who are defending, for example, human rights, environmental rights, indigenous rights. We have people who come from different fields. So, for example, anthropologists, sociologists. In my case, I'm a lawyer. And so we bring together different aspects of civil societies, and we build up kind of in a strategic way how to take on what's happening. And my organisation, for example, it's completely legally formed. It's very transparent. And our idea is to work in support of what's happening.
Entonces, en concreto, nosotros, entre las actividades que realizamos está la defensa legal desde la perspectiva del litigio estratégico, que importa la utilización de elementos jurídicos propiamente dichos, la utilización de elementos políticos, porque en los derechos humanos lo político es trascendental, ¿no es cierto?, y también de estrategias de tipo mediática.
So to be more specific or more concrete, in my organisation what we do is strategic litigation, legal defence, and we work obviously on human rights issues, but across all human rights issues there's going to be a political element, and so that's what we're doing. Obviously as well there's a media strategy behind what we're doing, but yeah, it's strategic litigation.
Realizamos también actividades en defensa de los derechos de ESCA. Trabajamos temas de formación en talleres para la formación de jóvenes líderes, para la defensa del territorio, para la defensa del derecho a la consulta. Trabajamos el tema del fortalecimiento de la institucionalidad indígena, porque la defensa no es desde nuestra perspectiva, tiene que ser desde la perspectiva de ellos, y hay que empoderarlos porque esa es la mejor manera de garantizar una defensa efectiva y adecuada.
And so we also work a lot on economic, social and cultural rights. And we do a lot of activities, for example, workshops with leaders, with community leaders, working on land rights, on consultation. In particular, I'd like to mention the work we do with indigenous peoples and how we need to think of the defence of indigenous rights from their perspective. And so we work with indigenous people to empower them to see the use of the law with this indigenous perspective as opposed to the way it's usually seen.
Sin duda, los temas que trabajamos y en esos temas afectamos derechos muy sensibles o intereses muy sensibles del Estado y de empresas, ¿no? Actuamos seguramente con valentía, pero también con mucha prudencia, no nos exponemos, tenemos protocolos de seguridad que nos permiten mantenernos hasta cierto punto exentos de algunos atentados a nuestra integridad personal, a nuestra libertad. Claro, nada es perfecto, pero tampoco se trata de exponernos más de la cuenta.
Of course, I should mention that the work that we're doing really touches very sensitive interests. And I'm speaking about the interests of the state and about private companies. But of course, we have protocols for protection. There have been incidents, attacks, infringement on the right to freedom of expression, for example. But it's not that we expose ourselves too much either. We do have strategies to keep ourselves safe.
Y aun cuando hemos sufrido atentados contra nuestra integridad, como baleamientos, o hemos sido procesados o venimos siendo procesados penalmente por casos que no son justos, que son más bien arbitrarios, nosotros seguimos en la lucha, seguimos en la defensa legal a nivel nacional e internacional, y sobre todo participamos de una actividad intensa de incidencia nacional y de incidencia internacional. Una de esas actividades de incidencia internacional, por ejemplo, es someter al Estado peruano a cuestionamientos ante la Comisión Interamericana de Derechos Humanos, por ejemplo.
But yes, we have suffered attacks against our integrity. We've also been exposed to legal proceedings that have been brought against us. Such proceedings have been completely arbitrary, but there have been cases that we continue to fight against. And one of our strategies is the international advocacy that we're doing. On an international level, it's very important for us, and I should mention that we've taken cases against the Peruvian state before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, for example.
Bueno, voy a ser breve porque ya me tomé más del tiempo debido. En un minuto pretendo decir que hay un estrecho trabajo entre las fuerzas de seguridad privada y las fuerzas policiales. En estos contratos de seguridad privada hay una organización del trabajo que ellos realizan de represión. Ellos han sido denunciados también por las organizaciones de derechos humanos. Hemos tenido relativos éxitos. En el Reino Unido, una empresa de seguridad privada y una empresa de capitales británicos fue sancionada en una corte para pagar una indemnización de 5 millones de libras esterlinas a personas que habían sido torturadas por estas. En cuanto al tema de cómo se llama, si no es pacificación, en realidad, como se dice, hay que tener cuidado con la utilización de las denominaciones. El tema pacificación en Perú es muy sensible. El tema pacificación era argumento que se utilizaba por parte de las Fuerzas Armadas para intentar justificar sus actividades de represión a un grupo terrorista muy letal que se llamaba Sendero Luminoso. Entonces, tratar de incorporar conceptos y tratar de que sea aplicable en todos los países es muy delicado, ¿no? Y de lo que yo poquito he podido escuchar, ¿no es cierto? Lo decía con todo respeto, no trato de desmerecer la actividad académica, ¿no? Pero para mí eso es represión, es criminalización.
Okay, so I'll try and summarize this in 1 minute. I'll try and be short. I want to mention, first of all, the relationship between private security companies and state security forces, so for security of the state, and the issue of repression. And there was a case where a private security company that's registered in the UK, a British private security company, that was sanctioned for 5 million pounds sterling. They received a fine for having tortured people. This is one case I want to mention, and then just to close by mentioning how to call this phenomenon, should we call it pacification or not? I think it's not to come down too hard on the academic theory, but I think that in Peru at least it's a sensitive issue, because in Peru the word pacification or pacificación has been used to justify the actions of a group known as Sendero Luminoso.
No, el Estado, al combatir a Sendero Luminoso, hablaba de pacificación para justificar sus barbaridades.
So the state took on a group called Sendero Luminoso, and to justify the activities that they carried out against this group, they called it pacification, which was their way of justifying activities that went beyond the law. And so for us, pacification really it's something different, and we need to discuss repression and criminalization.
No solamente contra Sendero Luminoso, sino contra toda la población civil.
So not just just to clarify, the state, it wasn't just against this group called Sendero Luminoso, but against the whole population. It was a strategy that was used that was called pacification, but in reality it was something very different.
Thank you for the question. I think it could be confused that we are this argument or discussing about theory or about concepts. But I think it's important because it remains to understand which are the social subjects in the conflict. And extractivism, for me, put the relation with a simplification of what capital is. Capital is not Roman Empire, it's not feudalism where the wealth is there and they take it. It's not the colony. It's a relation that goes through commodities, that goes through money, and wealth comes from exploitation. The nature has no value. It's not produced. If you take a land and you don't exploit workers, you get nothing. You just get material, but the material you get, the nature you get, has no value until it gets produced by workers. So when you put in extractivism, you think in the relation as a relation with the nature, with the capital going to the nature and taking wealth. But that abstract of what capital is. So in this sense, I think it has a political sense, because when you think, for example, David Harvey idea of what is in extractivism, he says, okay, for example, common places. But what is a common place in capital? They are property. They are property relations. They are social relations. Being indigenous, being local communities, doesn't put you away the social relations. So thinking that, okay, in Latin America you have that indigenous people is like previous, no capital relations, is not real. There are capital relations in Latin America. Behind indigenous, behind local communities, there are commodities, there are exploitation. It's more complex than thinking just in one way, poor people, they are there and then come the foreign companies and take it. For example, they put privatization. They say privatization is a form of original accumulation. Okay, what's the state? Public companies are not capital. Public companies that exploit people. So then they arrive, you privatize, and then it's a right accumulation. So extractivists put the problem in a simplified way that doesn't allow us to understand what is capital. And in this sense it's important because it mixes different situations. When you are analyzing the conflicts you have in land and the conflicts about the expansion of the frontier, you mix situations of capital concentration, which is a battle inside the capital with petty bourgeoisie or little companies and the big companies. And at the same time you have a worker situation, and then you have, for example, this problem of surplus population, when you are not looking to new workers, you're just looking to exterminate or to destroy people's life, and you put all together, this is a political strategy. In Latin America, it's the strategy that comes with the idea that you can make some social alliances, that the state can make some changes and not be neoliberal, and they put everything on neoliberalism. But you see the history of Latin America is not a start with neoliberalism. It's not that, okay, it was everything nice, there were no agribusiness. What is agriculture in Argentina before the 70s? It was a business. It was not that Argentina before the 70s was producing for the good of the people. They were producing profit. And no, but everything starts in the 70s. When you think in David Harvey, you think in all this neoliberalism thing, you are saying that there is an alternative to neoliberalism inside capital. So the debate is not just concepts. The debate is which is our strategy. We're going to build a human-face capitalism, or we're going to fight and develop an alternative of capitalism. So this is the debate behind these problems.
Okay, we've come to the end of this session. I think Francesco wants to use the time. So on the schedule for today, lunch would start at 12:30, which was 15 minutes ago. We're in Salento, like I was told earlier. So I think Francesco is going to speak about Donato. And I think maybe lunch, once it's ready, we can have our lunch, and then we'll start back again at 2 o'clock. But I'll hand over to Francesco first.
Right. Okay. I'll do it in English, and Donato can do it in Italian. Some of us have been discussing in the last few days about the need to come up with a message of solidarity of people that are going to be marching today, a few hundred kilometers from here, in solidarity with the mayor of a municipality of Riace that is now under arrest for crimes of solidarity. He's been creating a system of assistance and support to migrants that has been, it's a kind of a model case that has been admired all over the world, and now he's in jail. And at the same time, social movements in Italy have been chartering a boat that is now sailing towards the Libyan waters to denounce the crimes against migrants, the crimes of humanity that are happening against migrants that are trying to cross the sea. And we see that the criminalization of those that are resisting the destruction of all kinds of life, the Mother Nature, Mother Earth, are suffering the same criminalization of those that are trying to save living human lives at sea. The dynamics are just the same: criminalization, stigmatization, use of criminal law, marginalization, police control, militarization of territories and borders. Actually, I was thinking, let me just open a very small parenthesis. This territory here, before the TAP, was also characterized by a security infrastructure. It had one of the biggest detention camps for migrants in San Foca that was closed also because of community resistance and social movement mobilization. So the territories are also equally transformed by securitization of border and securitization of natural resources and access to the resources. This is why, when we are going to draft also a declaration for tomorrow, that we'll be trying to capture the key issues arising from our conversations and also launch a series of proposals on how to carry on after these days. But this is why we wanted to suggest and propose a very short statement that then will be sent to the people that will be marching and to the own networks that internationally are working against the criminalization of solidarity, and also on board the boat that is now sailing towards Libyan waters. So, Donato, if you want to read the Italian version, then there will be also the English one, so we can do both, and we can correct whatever you want.
In difesa della vita e della terra. Siamo in Salento, Organi, movimenti italiani e internazionali di resistenza all'estrattivismo ed accademici di ogni parte del mondo, per partecipare alla conferenza Vivere e studiare i conflitti in difesa della terra, organizzato dalla Transnational Institute, dall'organizzazione Bianca Guidetti Serra, da Salento, con il sostegno del Movimento NO TAP, per portare sul terra chi è in prima linea nella difesa della madre terra. Un impegno per proteggere il vivente che viene contrastato attraverso repressione e criminalizzazione. Chi protegge la vita e il vivente oggi viene considerato come un nemico da combattere e marginalizzare. Accade che i difensori della terra e per chi difende i diritti dei migranti, chi salva vite in mare. Per questo oggi nel Salento, terra di resistenza, esprimiamo la nostra solidarietà mimo-lucana, sindaco di Riace, accusato di crimini di solidarietà, e partecipiamo da qua alla grande manifestazione che si tiene oggi a Riace. Per questo ci siamo idealmente sul ponte del Marchionio, che naviga verso le acque liquide della Marchionio, la nave che naviga verso le acque liquide per informare, documentare, denunciare i crimini contro l'umanità nei confronti del popolo migrante. Proteggere la terra, salvare vite umane è un dovere, non un reato. Se siete d'accordo, affermeremo con tutte le realtà che hanno partecipato al workshop, le sigle eccetera, e anche i relatori del workshop, quindi con i nomi, le cariche, eccetera.
So the idea is that if you agree, then we can sign on behalf of the organization of the organizers and the realities and movements that are here, and also individually the participants of the panel. So I can read it in English.
Okay, thank you very much. So if you want to sign, maybe speak with Donato and Francesco.